Well, I remember him as a great friend, and he was my boss for 2 years when he was Secretary of State for Defence and I was Minister of the Navy. We worked very well together when he was Chancellor and I was Foreign Secretary. We've said some rather rude things about each other in public, but we remain good friends. And only at the end of July, I went down with my wife, Debbie, to see him. And we had a wonderful chat and a wonderful time in his house. But he was getting old, and it was clear that this was going to happen. And I'm really glad I saw him so recently.
Yeah, 98 years old. It's funny what you say, Lord Owen, because when you read the tributes coming in, he fell out with quite a lot of people, didn't he, very publicly? But actually, the fond words are there, and he remained friends with those people, even though he might not have agreed with them.
Well, he was an intellectual powerhouse. He was not always the greatest consistency. He had a tremendous sense of humour, a great brain, a courageous man, and that was shown by his war history, but also in the fights he had, either in the Labour Party or anywhere else, really. He stood by his views, and he's, of course, been out of politics now for quite a while, but he was a great figure of the Labour movement, and something which the Labour movement today is rightly very proud of.
And such a key moment in the economic history of our country when he was in number 11, when the government was forced to go to the IMF for a loan for the UK economy. It could have taken a very different course.
Yes, he had courage, and he knew that we had to bite on the bullet and accept what he didn't think was necessary, but nevertheless he accepted it, and it started an economic recovery. It also started an economic viewpoint that you couldn't spend your way out of a crisis. He and Callaghan were right on that. And the Labour Party accepted it. Of course, they didn't like it, but it was nevertheless accepted. The trade unions cooperated. And by the election, when we were defeated in '79, the economy was beginning to turn back up. And I think that history will write well of his period as Chancellor of the Exchequer, but particularly he was probably the greatest defence secretary since the end of the war.
I've seen a poll of academics back from 2007, 2008, I think, that said he was the best Prime Minister we never had. Did he have ambitions?
Oh, yes. Nobody gets to the top of the greasy pole or near to the top of the greasy pole without wanting to be actually at the top. And I think there was a possibility that he could have been Prime Minister. I think his problem was that he was loyal, and instead of, when he was defeated by Michael Foot, effectively not serving, if he had waited a year, I think the Labour Party would have turned back to him before the '83 election. It would have been a tough fight, but he could have won it. Nobody be for sure. But that was a moment when he decided to be Michael Foot's loyal deputy, and of course Labour went to its most savage defeat. But his time in government was a very considerable one. To be Defence Secretary from 1964 to 1970, 6 years through a very difficult period. And you talk to generals and admirals and petty officers and able seamen, and you'd be surprised how much affection there was for Denis as Defence Secretary.
Lord Owen, we appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you very much. And just to say that Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has said Denis Healey was a Labour giant whose record of service to party and country stands as his testament. All our thoughts are with his family.